guys, welcome back to my channel. So a couple days ago I watched the Spiderverse movie and I decided to make the Spider-Man beanie that Mayday is seen wearing in the movie. I posted a reel about it and I got so many comments asking me to film a tutorial. Please keep in mind this is my first crochet tutorial, so if it's not the best, I'm sorry, I'm trying. But I've put a lot of resources in the description if you're a beginner. At the end, this is what the hat should look like. I'm also selling these on my Depop, so if you don't want to crochet this or you don't know how, you can just purchase it in the link in the description. I ship internationally. And yeah, let's get into the materials you need to make this hat. For the base of the hat, I used this red chunky acrylic yarn. This entire ball is 100 grams and I used just over half of it. Then you'll need some blue chunky yarn for the outline and the tassels, some white yarn for the eyes, some black yarn for the outline of the eyes. I used a different, thinner black yarn to make the webs, but that's not necessary. And finally, you'll need a 4mm crochet hook. Round 1 starts with a magic loop. If you're not sure how to make a magic loop, I have a tutorial linked in the description. Then you're going to chain 2 and then work 11 double crochets into the magic loop. Again, if you don't know how to do any stitches or crochets in this tutorial, there are better resources linked in the description that will teach you how to do it step by step. So here I am working the 11 double crochets into the magic loop, and just remember that for each round I won't be counting the 2 chains at the start as a double crochet. So now I'm working in the final 11th double crochet. Now you can pull the shorter string to close the magic loop. Finally, to finish round 1, slip stitch into the second chain we made at the start of the round. This will leave us off with a fully connected circle with 11 stitches. With round 2, we're going to start off with 2 chains, and then into each stitch, we're going to work 2 double crochets. Working 2 double crochets into the same stitch is called a double crochet increase, and that's what I'll be calling them for the rest of the tutorial. So do a double crochet increase into each stitch. At the end of round 2, you should be able to count 22 stitches, and I highly recommend you keep track of your stitches, especially if you're a beginner. I'm working in my final double crochet increase into the last stitch, and then we're going to finish off round 2 the same way that we finished off round 1, by slip stitching into the second chain that we made at the start. Start off round 3, we're going to chain 2 again, and then we're going to alternate between a double crochet increase and a regular double crochet all the way around the circle. So in the first stitch we'll do a double crochet increase, and then in the second stitch we'll do a regular double crochet. And you're just going to alternate between the 2 all the way around the circle. Finally, do your last double crochet, and you should end round 3 with 33 stitches. As always, slip stitch into the second chain to end the round. Start round 4 by chaining 2, and then double crochet increase into the first stitch. In the next stitch, do a regular double crochet, and then do a regular double crochet into the next stitch. You should alternate between double crochet increase, double crochet, all the way around the circle, and you should finish the round with 44 total stitches. Slip stitch into the second chain that you made at the start to close the round. Start round 5 by chaining 2. Double crochet increase into the first stitch. And then do a regular double crochet into the next 10 stitches. Here's what one group should look like, with 1 double crochet increase and then 10 consecutive double crochets. Repeat that all the way around and you should have a total of 48 stitches. Here I'm working in the 10th double crochet in the final group, and then slip stitching to close the round. Start round 6 by chaining 2, double crochet, increase into the first stitch, and then do a regular double crochet into the next 11 stitches. So this will be the same as the last round, but instead of doing 10 double crochets, you'll be doing 11 double crochets. You should have a total of 52 stitches at the end of this round, and then to close the round, do a slip stitch into the second chain. To start round 7, chain 2, and then double crochet, increase into the first stitch. Then do a regular double crochet into the next 12 stitches. Repeat the pattern all the way around the circle until you have a total of 56 stitches. You can probably spot the pattern at this point, it's really repetitive. We're just increasing the amount of double crochets in each round. To close off the round, slip stitch into the second chain. You get the drill. Then to start round 8, chain 2, and then double crochet, increase into the first stitch. And then do regular double crochets as per usual into the next 13 stitches. Do this all the way around until you get a total of 60 stitches. Slip stitch into the second chain to close the round, and then chain 2 to start the next round. For round 9, double crochet, increase into the first stitch, and then do a double crochet into the next 14 stitches. Repeat this until you get a total of 64 stitches all the way around. Slip stitch to close it off, and then chain 2 to start round 10. Double crochet, increase into the first stitch, and then double crochet into the next 15 stitches. Repeat that all the way around until you have a total of 68 stitches. This will be our last round, making the top of the hat, and then from now on we'll be moving on to the brim. So the brim is going to be made up of the next 5 rows, and each row is going to be exactly the same. We're just going to start off with 2 chains, and then double crochet into every stitch all the way around. At the end of each row you should have 68 stitches total. To end the row, slip stitch into the second chain. Chain 2 again, and repeat it 4 more times until you're done with rows 11 to 15. After you're done slip stitching round 15, now we're going to start working on the ear flaps. So to start, chain 1, and then single crochet into the next 12 stitches. I've sped it up here, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. So that's row 1 finished. There you can see the 12 single crochets. To move on to round 2, chain 1, and then turn your work. Now we're going to start off this row by doing a single crochet decrease, and this will just join the first 2 stitches together so that it can have a tapering effect. Next, single crochet into the next 8 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then to end the row, we're also going to do another single crochet decrease. So we're joining stitches 11 and 12 together. To start round 3, chain 1 and then turn your work. Now we're just going to single crochet across normally, so just do 10 single crochets. Now we're on to round 4, chain 1 and then turn your work. We're going to start this row by joining the first 2 stitches together with a single crochet decrease. And then we're going to single crochet regularly into the next 6 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to join stitches 7 and 8 with a single crochet decrease. Now we have a total of 8 stitches. Chain 1 and turn your work again for round 5. Now you're just going to single crochet regularly across the 8 stitches. For round 6, chain 1 and turn your work again. Now we're going to join the first 2 stitches with a single crochet decrease. Then single crochet into the next 4 stitches. Now join the last 2 stitches with a single crochet decrease. And you should have a total of 6 stitches. Chain 1 and turn your work for round 7, and single crochet across the 6 stitches regularly. For round 8, chain 1 and turn your work. Start the round with a single crochet decrease into the first 2 stitches. Now do 2 single crochets, and then join the last 2 stitches with a single crochet decrease. Now you should have a total of 4 stitches. For round 9, chain 1 and turn your work, and then finally single crochet across the 4 stitches as normal. You should have 4 stitches at the end and you can fasten off. And then when you're done, this is what the ear flap should look like. So you're going to count 22 stitches, and then in the 23rd stitch is where we're going to start working on our second ear flap. So here's me just counting 22 stitches, and the 23rd stitch is where we're going to start our second flap. So I attached the yarn to my hook and I'm doing a slip stitch to attach it to the hat. And from this point you can just do the exact same thing we did for the first ear flap. I'll put the timestamp on the screen for where we started the first ear flap, and you can just repeat the exact same thing. Once you're done with your second ear flap, we're going to move on to the blue outline and the tassels. So I'm just attaching the blue yarn with a slip stitch, and then I'm chaining 1 and working around the whole hat with single crochets. The type of stitch that you use depends on how thick your yarn is, and since my yarn is pretty thick, I'll just be using single crochets. So just single crochet all the way around the hat, just work right into the stitches. You might have some difficulty when you're working up the sides of the ear flaps since there aren't distinct stitches, but don't worry about it. Where you put your hook and the amount of stitches you do does not really matter. As long as you work up the side of the ear flap, you should be fine. So just place your hook wherever you can and work up the sides with single crochets. Now, where it does start to matter is when we reach the end and we're working at the top. we want to make sure we work into the 4 stitches that we left at the top, and this will become important when we do the tassels. So work into those 4 stitches with single crochets, and then you can work back down the other side all the way around the hat. Do the same thing for the other ear flap. And when you're done working all the way around, you can connect it with a slip stitch and then fasten off. And now you're almost done. You're done with the base of the hat. This is what it should look like so far. And next we're going to move on to the tassels. So you're going to cut 8 strings of yarn from each color. So 8 red strings and 8 blue strings, and they should be around 100 centimeters in length. So this is why I said it was important to make 4 stitches at the top of each ear flap, because that's what we'll be working into for the tassels. So find your first stitch. You can start on any side you want, and on your first stitch we're going to work in 1 red string. So I'm just making it so that it's completely folded in half, and then you're going to tie it at the base. So now it looks like I have 2 strings that are 50 centimeters in length. Now we're going to do the exact same thing one more time, working in a red string into the same stitch and folding it in half and then tying it at the base. Now you can see we've got 4 strings, or what looks like 4 strings, out of 1 stitch. Now into the 4th stitch, we're going to do the exact same thing, working in 2 red strings, folding it in half, and then tying it at the base. Now in the 2nd and 3rd stitch, we'll be doing the exact same thing, but with a blue string. So here I am working it in, folding it in half, and then tying it at the base. Make sure to tie them really tightly. Then one last time, you're going to work in 2 blue strings, fold them in half and tie them at the base. Then you should see a pattern of red, blue, blue, red. To start the fishtail pattern on the tassels, you need to separate the groups of string, just as you can see here, so that none of the colors are mixing with each other, and you get 4 very separate groups. Now you're going to bring the red strings from the right into the middle. Then bring the red strings from the left into the middle. And you should see a cross shape starting to form. Next, bring the blue strings from the right into the middle. Then bring the blue strings from the left into the middle. Just keep alternating, bringing the strings from the right to the middle and then the left to the middle. And try and make sure the strings are as flat as possible so you could have a voluminous and thick fishtail. Then you just want to close off the fishtail. I used a piece of yarn, and if you're doing that, just make sure you tie it really tight and double knot it so it doesn't unravel. Now most of the hat is done. We're going to move on to doing the spider webs. And this is where I used my thinner black yarn. So first attach the yarn at the base using a slip stitch. We're going to be working only in slip stitches to make the spider web. In my opinion, this is the hardest part because it's mostly intuition. You can freestyle the design however you like, because as you can see in Mayday's hat, it's not exactly a perfect spiderweb. It's more just lines crossing over each other. So feel free to take your creative liberty here and do a design that you like. Just do slip stitches in the direction that you want to make a spiderweb design. If you're not too sure how to do that, this is what I did. This is what the front looks like, and this is the back. And here's a little 360 for you. So as you can see, there isn't really a pattern here. I just freestyled this and did some lines crossing over each other. There is no perfect pattern, so don't be too worried about that. Now moving on to the eyes, we're going to start row 1 with a magic loop. Then chain 2. And then do 11 double crochets into the magic loop. The first 3 rounds of making this eye is the exact same as the first 3 rounds of making the hat, so it'll be very familiar. So I'm just doing 11 double crochets into the magic loop. You can pull the string to close the magic loop, and then slip stitch into the second chain to close the row. Chain 2 to start row 2, and then do a double crochet increase into every stitch. Now you should have a total of 22 stitches. Slip stitch into the second chain to close the row. Chain 2 to start round 3. Double crochet increase into the first stitch. And then double crochet into the next stitch. Now continue alternating between double crochet increases and double crochets all the way around, and you should have a total of 33 stitches. Now you can slip stitch into the second chain and close off. Now slip stitch with some black yarn to attach it to the eye. Chain 1, and then single crochet all the way around. Slip stitch into the first single crochet, and then you can close off. Now repeat that one more time to make the second eye. So now the final step is attaching the eyes. There are many ways you can do this. You could use a needle and a thread. You can slip stitch it using black yarn, which is what I did. You can even use a hot glue gun or super glue. I would just say to be very careful with your placement. You could even use pins to make sure you're happy with the placement before sticking them on. And make sure that the distance between the two eyes isn't that big, so that when you pull it over your eyes like Mayday does, it doesn't look too far apart. And this is what it should look like when you're done.